Hey guys, Mr. Isley here. So we are on to lesson number 19 in chapter 8, all about writing quadratic functions when given 3 points. Now, as a reminder, when we're given these 3 points, 2 of them should be X-intercepts. So the first thing we want to do is go in and identify X-intercepts. And again, X-intercepts, the way we identify them is that their Y value in the ordered pair is always going to be 0. Can't be anything else. So in example A, we've got a quadratic function that passes through the points -9, 0, -2, 0, and -4, 20. So you probably already noticed the first 2 points are our our X-intercepts. So -9, all right, that would be like our first X-intercept, which is P. And then -2, that would be like our second X-intercept, which is Q. Now the other thing you have to remember is that that third point also comes back into play, because ultimately, remember, we are going to plug this into intercept form, which is f of x equals a times x minus p times x minus q. So what you have to remember is our first goal is we're going to solve for the a, right? So we're going to solve for the a. Well, in order to solve for the a, we need to know p and q, but we also need to know x and f of x, and that's where that third point comes in. The first coordinate here is always an x coordinate, so there's our x, and then our second coordinate is y, but another term for y in functions we've talked about is f of x. So there are the values that we're going to plug in the appropriate spots. So again, a reminder, we're going to plug each information in as it is. This is how the form starts, and it can be altered from there based on if we get negatives in the spots of P and Q. So in for f of x, we need to plug the value, all right, that we see, which is positive 20. So we're going to plug 20 in. And then that is going to be equal to, again, a is the only value we don't know, so we're going to leave that as is, times our x value is -4 minus our p is -9, then times x again is -4 minus our q is -2. So again, putting that in an extra parentheses. Now again, the first thing you probably noticed are the double negatives, so we need to turn those into pluses. So let's do that. So I've got 20 equals a times -4 plus 9 times -4 plus 2. All right, and now we need to simplify down. So the first thing that PEMDAS would tell us to do is simplify anything inside parentheses we can, which we have the opportunity to do here. So what we have is 20 equals a times -4 plus 9 is +5, and -4 plus 2 is -2. Next thing we would need to do after that would be exponents. There aren't any. Next thing we would want to do after that is multiplication and division. We do have some multiplication. We have a times 5 times -2. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I've got 20 equals a times 5 is 5a, and 5a times -2 is -10a. So there we go. Now, next step would be, again, we need to solve for a. We've simplified it down as simple as it'll get, so now we need to solve for a. Well, in order to solve for a, it's being multiplied by -10, so I need to divide by -10. So I'm going to divide each side by -10. That causes -10 divided by -10 is 1, so I'm left with just a, which is equal to 20 divided by -10, which is -2, because 20 divided by 10 is 2, positive divided by a negative is a negative. So we ended up with a equals -2. Well, now that we have a value for a, we can go back into our quadratic function in intercept form, and we can plug in for a, for p, and for q. We are no longer going to plug in for our x or our f of x. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to plug in. So I've got f of x equals, negative 2 times x, again, minus a negative 9. So we learned that that becomes plus 9, so I'm going to go ahead and simplify that down while I'm writing it. And then times x minus, again, a negative 2, which is a positive 2. So I can just go ahead and simplify that down because I already know what's going to happen with those double negatives. So then our next step after that is we need to do our simplification. We've got to get this down into an ultimate goal of f of x equals a x squared plus bx plus c. It should look something like that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to simplify down through the PEMDAS process, parentheses first, nothing to simplify inside parentheses. Exponents next, nothing to multiply in terms of exponents. And then multiplication and division. So with multiplication, you always want to move from left to right. So first thing I'm going to do is distribute my negative 2 times everything inside the first parenthesis. So I've got f of x equals negative 2 times x is negative 2x, and negative 2 times positive 9 is negative 18. Now, because I've got this secondary parenthesis right here, I'm going to go ahead and put that in parentheses, and then x plus 2 comes down as is. So then after that, my next step, I've got more multiplication. What you may notice is it's a binomial times a binomial, which means we need to use FOIL at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and out to the side here, I'm going to do my FOIL. So I've got negative 2x minus 18 times x plus 2. And I'm going to do my FOIL. So first term times first term. So negative 2x times x is negative 2x squared. Then outside terms, negative 2 times positive 2 is negative 2x times positive 2 is negative 4x. Inner terms, so negative 18 times x is negative 18x. And then last terms, negative 18 times positive 2, excuse me, I'm having trouble speaking, is negative 36. So then at that point, I need to go ahead and combine like terms. So negative 2x squared comes down. Negative 4x minus 18x is negative 22x. And then negative 36 comes down. So when I did my multiplication, what I came up with is f of x equals negative 2x squared minus 22x minus 36. And there is my final answer. F of x again equals negative 2x squared minus 22x minus 36. All right, well, I would encourage you to try example B on your own. So pause the video, then when you're done, unpause it and check your answer with mine. So I'm going to go ahead and move this up a little bit, and then let's take a look at it. So example B says that this quadratic function passes through the points 0, 0, 10, 0, and 4, 12. So first thing I want to do, identify my P and my Q. So where are my X-intercepts? Well, I've got 0, 0. This has a y of 0. So my first one is 0 for P. Then I've got 10, 0. There's another y of 0. So that means Q is 10. Now, again, I want to also identify my third point as my X and my f of x, because I'm going to plug into intercept form of a quadratic function. So in for reminder that a quadratic function is in this form, f of x equals a times x minus p times x minus q. That is the intercept form. So we need to plug in for everything so that we can solve for a. So in for f of x goes 12 equals a, that's the one thing we don't know, times my x is 4 minus my p is 0 times, again, my x is 4 minus my q is positive 10. And then we need to simplify down. So nothing to simplify on the left side, so 12 equals a can't be simplified at this point. 4 minus 0 in parentheses is 4. And then in other parentheses, 4 minus 10 is negative 6. So then I need to simplify down further by doing my multiplication. So a times 4 is 4a, and 4a times negative 6 is negative 24a. So I have 12 equals negative 24a. Then my next step, I need to get the a by itself. So it's being multiplied by negative 24, so I need to divide by negative 24. So negative 24 divided by negative 24 is 1, so that cancels, and I'm left with a equals. Now 12 divided by negative 24, you may have noticed that that top number is smaller than the bottom number, so that means we should end up with a fraction. I noticed that 12 and 24 have a common factor of 12, so if I divide each by 12, 12 divided by 12 is 1, and negative 24 divided by 12 is negative 2. So I ended up with negative 1/2 for a. Now once I have my a value, I can go back in and plug that in for a, plug back in for p, and plug back in for q as well, and solve down to get my quadratic function in simplest form, or in quadratic form rather. So I've got f of x equals a is negative 1/2 times x minus p again is 0 times x minus q again is 10. All right, so first thing I want to do here is I want to simplify down by doing my multiplication. So I've got f of x equals negative 1/2 times x, which is negative 1/2 x. And then negative 1/2 times 0 is just 0. So that really doesn't mean anything, so I can just kind of cancel that out. And so all I'm left with is negative 1/2 x. Then I need to bring down what I didn't use, which is my x minus 10. So then my next step is I need to multiply the next step of it. So I need to distribute my negative 1/2 x times each term in the parenthesis. So negative 1/2 x times x, well, that is negative 1/2 x squared, because this really has a 1, and negative 1 times 1 is negative 1/2. Sorry, negative 1/2 times 1 is negative 1/2, and x times x is x squared. Then I need to distribute negative 1/2 x times negative 10. Well, you may remember that that means 1/2, negative 1/2 I should say, times negative 10, and we need to put that negative 10 over 1. And then we can do our multiplication. So we can multiply straight across, or we could do cross simplification. If you remember how that works, we can check diagonally, and if we have a common factor other than the number 1, go ahead and divide at that point. Well, these are both 1, so I can't do anything there. But 2 and 10, those both have a common factor of 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. Then I can multiply across. So negative 1 times negative 5 is positive 5, and 1 times 1 is 1. Well, 5 over 1 is the same as just 5. So when I had negative 1/2 times negative 10, I got positive 5, and then I had an x involved as well, so I need to bring that down as well. So I've got positive 5x. So my final answer here is f of x equals negative 1/2 x squared plus 5x. All right. Well, that should get you through the remainder of Chapter 8 to finish worksheet number 4. If you have any additional questions, please let me know. Otherwise, continue on and finish the worksheet.